Today's words shape tomorrow's discourse.
The future starts today.
Today's talk, tomorrow's world. Today.
Nothing matters more than what matters today.
The future starts today.
You're listening to Today on Beyond Beijing. I'm Brandon Blackburn-Dwyer with Shu in the Global Talk.
Well, China's employment market is very active, with the phenomena of job hopping becoming more and more popular. RMG Selection's report on China talent flow says barriers between different regions are falling, and headhunters are becoming a major force behind talent flow. To better understand the job market in China, we have Robert Parkinson, founder and CEO of RMG Selection, an international recruitment firm in China. Good morning, Robert.
Good morning. Great to be with you.
Glad to have you here. So first of all, what does the employment market landscape look like, based on your research? How is it different? How does it compare with the scene of last year?
Well, it's really an interesting report, actually. Of the people we surveyed, we discovered that 30% of the respondents had changed jobs, which really is a huge number of people when you consider it. We also discovered that the salary level expectations were still high, ranging between 20 and 30%, which is indicative of a strong market. Interestingly, 2012, which was, there were questions in the European Union on the economy, whether that was going to affect China or not. 2012 was arguably as strong as 2011, and we're predicting an even stronger 2013. So things are looking good.
Now, the 30% job changers, the impression of a lot of particularly younger job seekers in China is that they take a job for a matter of months and then jump to something else. What's driving that, and how harmful is that to the economy?
Well, I think what's driving it is people, when they graduate from university, are looking really for any opportunity to get a job, even if it's not in their kind of real core focus. And then as soon as an opportunity comes up, they will hop across to something which is more relevant to what they've studied, perhaps. So I think that's the core driver behind that. But I agree. I think it is damaging for the economy because, in the long run, companies want people who are stable and who'll stay with them. If you look at the more senior end of the employment market, the skill that's lacking in China is really good management ability and leadership skills and ability. And you only learn that through a kind of consistent period of employment with a business, not by hopping around all the time.
Mm-hmm. According to the report, nearly 60%, there's a high percentage of people are more willing to change jobs through, say, headhunters. Headhunting is relatively a new phenomenon to the Chinese job market. Can you explain why there's such a rapid growth of 60%?
Absolutely. I think really overall it's a demands-driven concept. There's simply a lack of high-quality talent. And I'm talking here about the market that we deal in, that our survey dealt with, which is the professional white-collar or highly educated sector. And there's a demand for people, and that hasn't waned at all. I think the other point is that in China, where if you compare China to a mature market like Hong Kong or the UK or the US, where you have the Sunday Times, the Financial Times, the South China Morning Post, these are all publications that are well respected for their print media advertising, and you don't really have that opportunity here in China. It's much more relationship-based. People like to be called. It makes them feel good. So it's a kind of combination of those factors, I would say.
Now, one of the other elements of the report talked about the falling barriers between people wanting to work in the top-tier cities, Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and now being really willing to work in the second and third-tier cities. What's driving that interest in smaller cities?
Well, I think that's a great question. I think what's driving it actually is at the lower end. I think the lower-paid, lower-skilled migrant workers are increasingly frustrated with the fact that their children, if they don't have a hukou from the same city, their children aren't going to get the social benefits and other attributes of that the hukou generates. So they're more interested in taking a slightly lower salary which is perhaps a bit closer to home, where they're closer to their children, and they can benefit from the social welfare out there. The other point, of course, is that the upper echelons of the employment market, the more professional managers, they are going where the money is. They're going to the, if you like, the new emerging markets in China. So the second and third tier cities, we do a lot of business, for example, in the north of China, where there's a lot of machinery companies developing. So I think Beijing, Shanghai, the kind of East Coast metropolises are pretty mature cities now. So naturally, there's a progression, if you like, westwards in China, and because of price and because of other savings that can be had.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned, of course, this increasing popular second, third tier of cities. Which is? Do you have a figure? Which is the most popular cities, say, among the second or third tier cities here?
I actually don't have a specific number for you on that. What our report has indicated is that Changchun is a very popular city and experienced a lot of new jobs. Dalian, Qingdao were all very, very popular places. Tianjin, last year, we're not quite so popular this year, but last year experienced a lot of change. Actually, we've just opened an office in Tianjin, and that's proven to be a popular city for quite a long time, more popular than Beijing because of the reduced cost of labour. So I think there are many emerging cities coming out at the moment.
Yeah, just picking up on what you have said about hukou, hukou, the permanent household registration system is always a factor when people make decisions about which city they are going to work, which city they are going to live. So are you seeing basically this factor is playing a less and less important role in people's decision-making process here?
Right. I think our survey suggests that, yes, that is the case. Our survey has reported that 70% of people would be willing to go and work in another city. But I think that has got to be seen in the context of the fact that we are surveying professional people who probably will say, yes, I'm prepared to go to a remote city for a period of time, with the view to coming back to the city where their hukou remains. They'll probably see it as good experience that they get to work in another city. I don't think you'll have permanent migration from the main areas, but it's good for people's careers. It's perhaps a way of getting a step up, both in the public sector and the private sector alike. It's a way of boosting your career to go elsewhere.
Now, one of the other themes here you see online is some young people here question how important academic achievement is. They say that, because we're spending so long in school that we're delaying it and we're not necessarily seeing academic qualifications giving us higher jobs or getting us immediate employment, or our majors don't match what we want to do, those type of things. How linked is your academic development and achievement with your eventual job and salary?
Yeah. It's an interesting one. I mean, our survey found that actually people with a master's degree and people with a bachelor's degree had exactly the same marketability, if you like. They were called, put simply, the same number of times as each other. And indeed, people with a PhD or a doctoral level qualification were called even less than these guys. So it's not the case that the better your education, the high quality your education, the better job you'll get or the better salary you'll get. There are sectors of the market, for example, the law or science, where a PhD could be useful. But I think if we look at general commerce, there's no particular advantage, particularly in the first 10 years of employment, to having a bachelor's or a master's. What we did find is that in the 30 to 40 age group, an MBA qualification was a significant booster to people's careers, and far more of the people with MBAs got jobs through headhunters and were seen as much more marketable, were called much more often.
Interesting. Well, unfortunately, that wraps up our Global Spotlight. Thank you, Robert Parkinson, founder and CEO of RMG Selection, an international recruitment firm here in China. Coming up, the U.S. Supreme Court's reviewing controversial voter ID laws.
Join our debate via Weibo. Go to weibo.com/todayonbeyondbeijing and send us your questions or ideas on today's big debate.